Most people start every morning doing at least one thing that quietly shuts off fat burning for the rest of the day. The time you eat, the food you eat, even how you drink your coffee, they all send signals that tell your body to either burn fat or store it. And almost nobody gets all of them right, which is a shame because fixing this one thing and these habits can boost your fat burning by as much as 40%. And when you stack them together, the results compound fast. So today, I'm breaking down the 5 breakfast rules that train your body to start the day in fat burning mode and help you feel confident that every decision and every choice in your morning routine is working for your metabolism, not against it. So let's start with the first rule, which is eating at the right time. The body runs on what's called your circadian rhythm. You are built with an internal 24-hour clock. It decides when you feel alert, when you start to wind down, and when your metabolism burns energy most efficiently. And every time you eat, you reset that clock. And it tells your body fuel is here. The day has started. Now, some people prefer to wait to eat or even skip breakfast altogether. Now, if that's you, I do that as well sometimes. Sit tight, because in one of the sections coming up, I'm going to explain to you how to do it the right way. Even how you can take that to another level and maximize your fat burning. More on that in a moment. But if you're someone who does eat in the morning, or even a couple days a week you eat in the morning, when you eat matters more than most people realize. That's because when you wake up, your body is still clearing out a hormone called melatonin. That's the same one that helps you sleep. And while melatonin is high, your metabolism is still in night mode. That means your body is keeping insulin, the hormone that moves sugar out of your blood into your cells, temporarily low because you're not supposed to be eating yet. If you eat too soon before melatonin drops, then your body's not able to process the food efficiently. And then as a result, sugar lingers in your blood longer, insulin spikes higher, and then more of it and more of that meal gets stored instead of burned up. That's why the best time to eat, if you do have breakfast, is about 30 to 90 minutes after waking up. Give yourself a little buffer. Now, that said, it's also possible to eat too late. The longer that you wait to eat, on the inverse side, the more your cortisol, your morning stress hormone, stays elevated. Cortisol's job is to give you quick energy, especially when you haven't eaten yet. And when it stays high for too long, it starts telling your body to hold on to fat, especially around your midsection. We might not be getting food this morning, so waiting a few hours can be fine, especially if you're fasting on purpose. More on that in a second. But randomly pushing your first meal too far into the day, you start getting to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, especially if you're eating dinner late into the evening as well, it works against that rhythm. That's because your metabolism starts to cool down as the day goes on. And then your cells become less sensitive to insulin. And that makes it harder to burn fat. That's why the sweet spot, if you're eating breakfast, is still earlier in the day, about 90 minutes after waking up. It gives your body time to use the fuel while your metabolism is at its peak. Now that brings me to rule number 2. Make protein one of your top priorities. Great comments on a previous video talking about protein in the morning from one of you, finally breaking through with this one change. Because when it comes to fat loss, protein does something better than any other food. It burns calories while you digest it. This is something called the thermic effect of food. A higher thermic effect just means that your digestive system burns more calories digesting the food. And a lower thermic effect means you burn fewer. So in the case of fats, it's only about 5% of the calories that are burned off in the process of digesting the fat. When you eat carbohydrates, it's about 10%. But when you eat protein, as much as 30% of the calories you eat are burned up in the process. So if you eat a 300 calorie breakfast, that's mostly protein, your body might burn close to 100 calories of it just processing it. That's what makes it such a powerful fat-burning breakfast food. But that's just the start of protein power. Protein also controls your hunger in a way that carbs and fat never will. It triggers hormones like leptin and GLP-1 that tell your brain, I'm full. And it quiets the hunger hormone ghrelin. That's the one that screams, feed me. That's why a high-protein breakfast can keep you satisfied a lot longer than something like a bowl of cereal or a croissant. Now, here's something most people don't know. A good protein breakfast keeps working long after you eat. It doesn't just improve how your body handles food during breakfast. It also improves how it handles your second meal. And this is called the second meal effect. Here's how it works. When you start your day with protein, it causes your blood sugar to rise more slowly. So it's not having that big spike, it's slowly going up, resulting in less fat floating around in your bloodstream. And because of that, your muscles can easily pull in and use the sugar from your next meal for energy instead of letting it hang around and get stored as fat. Studies show this effect is so strong that it can cut the blood sugar spike from your next meal by up to 95% compared to someone who skipped breakfast altogether or someone that's pounding in lots of carbohydrates. So centering your breakfast around protein is pretty powerful. You just need to make sure that you get enough of it. Most people don't in this meal. The general recommendation is 20 to 30 grams per meal. But if you're only eating 1 or 2 meals a day, you'll need more to hit your daily goal, which should be around half a gram per pound of body weight. So if you're over 50, you're going to also need more as well. It's because your muscles become less sensitive to protein as you age in a process that's called anabolic resistance. So if you don't get enough protein each meal, you start losing muscle mass, and your muscles are what drives your metabolism. So skipping protein during breakfast puts you on a path to lose strength and gain fat at the same time. So I oftentimes, even if I'm fasting, I've got my protein drink or protein coffee, protein in those to still be getting some of that in, even though I'm only consuming liquids to keep the muscles topped up and keep the metabolism cranked up. So it's a terrible combo to be losing strength and gaining fat at the same time. So eat more protein because chances are you're not getting enough of it. Now, some good breakfast options that will hit the target. My favorites, just 3 pasture-raised eggs. You could do a side of clean protein. It could be some level of a sausage or chicken sausage or turkey sausage or bacon, just not too often with some of those things. But the eggs go a long way, honestly, and they're just very easy to put together and to make. Doesn't take long. If you want something faster, you can do some Greek or coconut yogurt. Just be very careful of the added sugar content. And I really like to see cultured Greek or coconut. Like the cultures are added in. That's where you get the good bacteria. Well, protein coffee, like I said, it's one of my favorites. Protein powder blended in to the coffee with a little bit of butter, a little bit of coconut oil. It's like a latte. It's delicious. Or make a quick collagen smoothie. Another option, very easy to do. You'll feel full, support your liver, and then keep your blood sugar steady. For the smoothie, you can start with a scoop of collagen or clean protein powder, one that doesn't have artificial junk in it, like sucralose. Gotta be very leery of that. Or any seed oils. We're gonna talk a little bit more about those in a moment. You can add some berries, leafy greens to get your fiber, spoonful of nut butter or chia. Love chia. Hemp seeds, get some healthy fat. It's real balanced fuel, and it keeps your body in fat burning mode for hours. And it doesn't matter whether your protein is animal-based or protein-based. Both have a lot of benefits to them. Just make sure it's clean, it's natural, and it hits that 20 to 30 gram target. If you want some help putting it all together, I got you covered. I will drop a link in the description below to a free guide packed with my favorite fat-burning breakfast recipes, all designed to hit that protein target and keep your metabolism running stronger. So if you want some ideas for breakfast, be sure to grab that link. Now let's go to number 3. Get your protein dialed in, then we start to build around it. Because protein alone isn't enough to make sure your breakfast burns fat. You need to pair it with 2 other things. The first of which you might be surprised to hear, carbohydrates. Now when people think carbohydrates, they think of refined carbohydrates. They're thinking breakfast donuts and cereals and white bread, the usual suspects, bagels. These are enemies to your waistline, especially at breakfast time, because they spike your blood sugar immediately, causing your body to be flooding with insulin. And when insulin rises, it becomes your body's first job to burn sugar, which shuts down fat burning until the sugar's gone. So every time you eat refined carbs, you're basically preventing your body from burning fat. Then, because they digest so quickly, your energy crashes a couple hours later, making you feel tired, and then making your brain crave more refined carbohydrates so it can keep going again. And so then you're hungry. You give into those cravings, and it triggers another insulin spike, and then the process starts all over again. It's a vicious cycle, and a big part of why 40% of Americans are obese. Now, most people hear this and they decide carbs are the enemy, but that's a mistake. They're one of the 3 main food groups, 3 macros, for a reason, because not all carbs are created equal. Some come with fiber, and fiber changes everything. And when you eat fiber-rich carbohydrates, like berries, like chia seeds, like even steel-cut oats, it slows down how quickly the sugars get absorbed by your system. And that keeps your blood sugar steady, your insulin low, and your body burning fat instead of storing it. Also, because fiber-rich foods digest slowly, they keep you more full longer. Believe it or not, this is why scientists recently declared getting enough fiber in your diet to be the #1 habit for weight loss, because it keeps you satisfied and energized throughout the day. A good rule of thumb is to aim for 8 to 12 grams of fiber at breakfast time, which is about 25 to 40 grams of total carbohydrates from low sugar, high fiber sources. Now, this is if you're eating breakfast. Some great options: berries, blueberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, high in fiber, low in sugar. Chia seeds, you can add them to smoothie. You can add them to yogurt. You can make chia seed pudding, which is a combo of protein powder, coconut milk, healthy fat, and chia seeds. It's like the perfect blend. Flax seeds, you can mix them in shakes, put them in oatmeal, put them in eggs. Avocado, technically a fruit, but packed with a lot of fiber, a lot of healthy fat. You can add in some leafy greens like spinach or kale. You can put a little bit in with your scrambled eggs or into a smoothie. Coconut, shredded or blended, that fiber, that clean fat. Steel cut or old-fashioned oats. Smaller portions if you're going to have these. I prefer overnight oats. We're just soaking them in coconut milk again and protein powder, so you're getting a good balance of protein and fats. And then just make sure your portion size is smaller. It's easy, especially with that recipe, to eat a lot of them. Trust me. They're so good. Never instant and go unflavored. Just add in the protein powder to make it flavored. Sprouted grain bread, if you want to toast it, all of these are great options. Which leads us to the second thing you need to pair with your protein, which is the healthy fats. Fats get these bad rap. They're not the bad guy. In fact, healthy fats are one of the most powerful tools for long-term fat loss because they're the best source for long-term energy. They digest slowly. They burn very clean, keeping your blood sugar steady and your insulin low. That way that your body can keep pulling from stored fat in between meals. And then it might sound counterintuitive, but eating fat actually helps you lose fat. Healthy fats help your body make hormones like estrogen, testosterone, and cortisol, the same hormones that control how your metabolism runs. When those are balanced, your body uses fat for fuel. When they're not, your body holds on to it. Good fats also help us absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, especially vitamin K2, all of which support healthy metabolism. So how much fat do we eat in the morning time? A good rule of thumb is to aim for 10 to 15 grams at breakfast. That's usually 1 or 2 thumb-sized portions or a small handful, half of avocado, a tablespoon of coconut oil, or maybe a little olive oil drizzled on your eggs, or a tablespoon of grass-fed butter mixed into your coffee or on your toast, small handful of raw nuts, almonds or walnuts, macadamians, 2 tablespoons of nut butter. Cashew is my favorite, just single ingredient nut butter, so you don't want to see anything else in those. 2 tablespoons of chia seeds or ground flax seeds, 2 tablespoons of unsweetened coconut. Total fat should make up about 25 to 30% of your breakfast, with the rest coming from protein and fiber. That balance keeps insulin low, trains your metabolism to use both dietary fat and stored fat efficiently. Again, I'm including a link in the description below to get a free breakfast guide that not only lists all these foods, but also healthy fat-burning breakfast recipes that you can use. All right, now that you know which breakfast foods you should eat to burn fat, let's take a look at the ones you need to avoid. The worst offenders, and this ruins the food for me. If I see one of these and see some of these foods are out. So refined carbs and sugars, we already touched on. White bread, white flour, bagels, pastries, pancakes, healthy cereals, just sugar in disguise oftentimes, flavored yogurts. These digest almost instantly. They flood your system with sugar and they trigger a rush of insulin that shuts off fat burning for hours. The next ones, though, are the rancid oils. The seed and vegetable oils that are hiding in restaurant foods, packaged snacks, baked goods. These oils make it nearly impossible for your cells to burn fat efficiently, and they can linger in your body for up to 2 years, and they are very prevalent in breakfast foods. The worst offenders are anything with canola oil in it, soybean oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil, sunflower oil, the regular kind. If it's high oleic, it's okay. Safflower, rice bran, grapeseed, the refined forms of it. And then generic vegetable oil blends. When you eat them, they replace the thin layer of fat around your cells, which causes your metabolism to slow down, and it makes your cells less responsive to insulin, and it blocks your body's ability to release stored fat for energy, sabotaging your fat loss efforts. The next category is the artificial ingredients. Sucralose, we talked about it. Aspartame, natural flavors, dyes, and preservatives in your breakfast foods, in your coffees that you're making, in the creamers, in the sugars you're putting in, anything artificial. They sneak into so much. Protein bars, flavored coffee, sugar-free foods. They disrupt your hormones, they confuse your hunger signals, and they overload your liver with toxins. It slows down fat burning even more. And then finally, there's the processed proteins, bacon and sausage with nitrate and nitrites and deli meats, and they're filled with preservatives and seed oils. You also want to look out for protein powders that are loaded with artificial ingredients. It is shocking to me when I go to the grocery store and I start picking them up, how many of these have things like sucralose in them. Or synthetic forms of vitamins like methylcobalamin is the normal form. Cyanocobalamin is what you normally see in these. That's a form of B12 made with cyanide. It's synthetic. They inflame your liver and your gut, which slows down detox and stalls fat loss. If you love them and can't cut them out entirely, then try to keep them as a small size and as minimal as possible. Make sure it's not the bacon base of your breakfast. All right, let's go to rule number 4. So we know when to eat breakfast, what to eat for breakfast, and then what not to eat for breakfast. But the biggest question still remains. If fat loss is your goal, then should you even bother eating breakfast? A lot of people like to push their first meal later into the day or skip breakfast altogether. I'm one of them, and it can actually work in your favor. So you can do breakfast right and enjoy it, and it works really well. I'm going to give you even a better plan for that in a moment. And you can also push it and not eat till later in the day. If that's you, then you're actually already using one of the most powerful tools for fat burning, intermittent fasting. That's when you pick a small window to eat your meals during the day and then fast for the remaining hours. So between noon and 6, so you're going to have your first meal of the day at noon and the other one at 6, and that's it. That's your eating window. The reason it works for fat loss is because when you go longer periods between meals, your body gets a chance to stop constantly processing sugar and instead tap into stored fat for energy. Now, most people start intermittent fasting with a rhythm of 16 and 8. That's when you fast for 16 hours and then you eat within an 8-hour window. So you might eat from noon to 8 and fast overnight until the next day until noon. However, just because you're eating later in the day doesn't mean all the rules we just discussed don't apply. It's still breaking your fast. Your break fast is at noon instead of at 8 a.m. So if you're deciding to try intermittent fasting and you skip the normal traditional breakfast time, you still want to make sure that your first meal of the day is built around protein, has plenty of fiber, healthy fats. The timing may change, but the fat burning principles never do. Now, once your body adapts to fasting, there's a way to take it even further. A way that not only burns fat, but also includes breakfast. It's called early time restricted eating, or as I like to call it, night fasting. It's basically the opposite of intermittent fasting, but instead of skipping breakfast and eating late, you eat your meals earlier, usually between 8 and 4. So you can have the normal breakfast time. And then you're kind of pushing lunch, and there's sort of a linner of lunch, dinner, and that's your last meal of the day. And you get all that time in the afternoon and into the evening to completely burn up your food. So when you go to sleep, this could be a game changer for those of you struggling with sleep. You've already digested it, and your body can focus on healing instead of digestion. Remember, your metabolism runs hottest in the morning. So when you do your eating earlier in the day, you're fueling your body when it burns energy most efficiently. And then when you finish eating earlier in the day, you give your body more time overnight to stay in fat burning mode. That's why studies show people who follow this pattern lose significantly more body fat than those who eat later in the day, even when both groups eat the same amount of food. And they also keep their blood sugar more stable. They feel less hungry in the evening, and they have fewer cravings the next day. So if you want to try it, start small, move your dinner earlier by 30 to 60 minutes each week. So you're kind of just ratcheting it down. Aim to finish eating at least 3 hours before bedtime at least, and eventually aim to eat mid-afternoon if you can. And of course, follow all the same rules when eating breakfast in the morning. When you do that, you're syncing your eating with the way that your body was designed to burn energy. And that's when real transformation happens. Which brings us to our 5th and final rule, moving your body in the morning. Now, for this to be effective, you don't need to do a 2-hour workout. You just need to get your body moving while your hormones and fuel are already working in your favor. Here's why the timing matters. When you exercise in the morning, especially before or even soon after breakfast, I like to do it before, your body is still running on lower glycogen, which means that it's going to pull more energy from stored fat. That's why studies show that people who work out before breakfast burn up to 50% more fat over the next 24 hours than those who exercise later in the day. And it's not just about fat. Morning movement helps balance your cortisol. Remember, cortisol naturally peaks after you wake up, and a quick burst of exercise helps you use it for what it's meant for, which is energy and focus. That way it doesn't run high all day long, driving stress and cravings. Now, you don't have to go overboard here. Just do something that gets your heart rate up and your muscles moving. That could be a brisk walk. It could be a few rounds of body weight exercises. I like to call them 10-minute workouts, or a short burst of high intensity intervals if you're ready for it. Even 10 to 20 minutes is enough to flip your metabolism into high gear. 10 is plenty. And if you eat before you move, keep it light. Protein-based meal or shake in that 1 to 2 hour window that we've already talked about. If you prefer working out fasted, that's what I prefer, make sure that you refill with protein after then, so then your body burns fat and it doesn't burn muscle. I like to add in some creatine there as well. Okay, so now you've got the 5 breakfast rules to kickstart fat burning every morning. But what you do in the evening is just as important. That's when your hormones, your meal timing, and your sleep routine decide whether your body keeps burning fat through the night or it starts holding on to it. I break it all down in my other video, the only ways to burn fat in your sleep. It's all according to the scientific research. You'll learn how to time your dinner, set up your sleep, and the one habit that can help you lose 6 times more fat than a placebo. I'll include a link to that video here. Click it to watch it next, and I'll see you there.